All right. My clock is showing 12 o'clock, and I want to be respectful of all of your time. So we'll go ahead and get started today. My name is Alyssa Mitchell. I work for the Utah Office of Substance Use and Mental Health with the Utah Department of Health and Human Services. I work on our suicide prevention team, and I've actually been working in the world of suicide prevention for about 10 years now. And I'm so excited to be here with you guys today to give you hopefully some important information on how to keep our mental health and well-being safe. Um, if you guys have any questions, please send the questions through the Q&A feature and we will address them at the end of the presentation. And I will go ahead and get started. So today's presentation is called Keeping Ourselves Safe, Protecting Our Emotional Health. So September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. I'm going to take kind of a bit of a different take on this, though, and also recognize that September is also Emergency Preparedness Month. And so this presentation today is going to really focus on how to prepare to keep ourselves mentally safe and healthy in our lives. Let me see. And if you have any issues hearing me or if you can't see the slides, please let me know. Why we prepare. So we plan to make sure our physical safety, comfort can be accounted for, and depending on situations that may come up in our lives. So if you think about how we prepare for anything in general, even prepare for our work day, we think about like what we need for the day, what's going to keep us going, and things on how we can keep ourselves happy and relatively safe throughout the day. And we account for that as we go to prepare, whether it's for our day, a natural disaster, an emergency, or what, even just a trip. Preparation considerations involve a lot of planning, so gathering supplies, um, really figuring out what we're going to need, learning how to take action and prepare for future events. And preparation can be for something fun or simple, like a trip, or something bigger and unexpected. When we think about preparing for emergencies, so for example, a power outage, a natural disaster, or something of that kind, we think about what we need in our home or even in our workplaces just to be prepared so that we can try and adapt to certain situations. So when you make a kit, it may include something like flashlights, batteries, blankets, possibly learning how to do certain skills like changing a spare tire, or learning how to adapt with like cooking and things like that, depending on what we have access to. Being prepared with first aid kits. And larger events like having 72-hour kits, family plans, reunification plans, water, whatever it is. We make these plans ahead of time to stay informed, and when these things do happen, it helps prevent us from panicking. But oftentimes, I think we as people forget that planning doesn't have to be for big events or even big emergencies. We can actually plan ahead of time to take care of our own mental health and well-being and our safety. So I want you guys to take a moment and think to yourselves as I'm asking these questions, how they relate back to you. So what's happening in your life right now? What is requiring your attention? Um, do you have kids in school? Is there schedules that you need to keep? Is there big meetings coming up? Are there certain life challenges or things that are taking a lot of your time and energy? Thinking about some of these things, I want you guys to reflect on how you have handled that in the past. When I've dealt with stresses in the past, ways that I've dealt with this is making sure that I am working on my breathing, because sometimes, especially when I'm feeling anxiety coming on, I notice that I get short of breath and my breath is super rapid and shallow. So sometimes it's nice, okay, am I breathing okay? How's my body responding to this? How do I calm myself down? Are there things that have worked, healthy options that have worked in the past, like going and getting exercise, going up and taking a walk, having a conversation with someone? Or if you've noticed this in someone else, are you checking in on them and making sure they're doing okay? thinking about some of those coping mechanisms, think to yourself, based on what's going on in your life right now, is that going to work for me right now? Is that a coping mechanism? Is that a tool or a skill that would apply, excuse me, based on what's going on in my life right now? And if it is, kind of just keep that in the back of your mind for now, because we're going to go over in a minute why it's important to think of these coping strategies. But something else to think of is who's going or who can help me during this event. So like who's going, like who's on my team, who's going to work with me, who's participating in some of these activities, or who's involved that I could possibly talk to, and who can help. So is there a colleague? Is there a family member, a friend who could possibly help during these events, or who we've turned to in the past? Another question, do I have what I need? The reality is that sometimes in stressful situations, or depending on what's going on in our life, we may not have everything we need at the moment. Something that I have used in the past as a coping technique is like journaling, writing things down. Do I actually have a journal right now? My answer is actually no. I just used up one, so I don't have one at the moment. Or if there's a way that we use to de-stress, like perhaps there's um, a tool that we use like a fidget spinner or something else, or perhaps we need other materials or to have things just on hand at our house or at our office to make sure that we can cope with certain situations. So kind of doing that evaluation of, well, this has worked in the past, I need this, and now I need to figure out a way to get access to it. And sometimes that requires maybe going out and buying something or borrowing something. This next question, is there something that I need to practice? One wonderful coping technique that's out there are mindfulness-based activities, whether that's the way we breathe or doing head to toe type of checks, like, notice how you're feeling in this moment. How's my chest feeling? How are my toes feeling? How do I feel in this environment? Have we actually tried using those skills lately, or is there a way we could possibly find out and practice how to use these skills? And then the last question, do I have it already, or is it close at hand? Um, and these are a lot of questions to ask yourself, but the good news about some of these questions that I have up here on the screen is that there are literal tools to help you plan for all of these questions here and create that preparedness plan for our mental health in the event that we do end up finding ourselves in distress. And it's called a safety plan. A safety plan is a prioritized list of coping strategies and sources of support. When we make a safety plan for ourselves, we need to ask ourselves the following questions. And these are kind of similar to what we talked about on the previous slide, but a few of them are a little bit different. So for example, with a safety plan, this first question is, what do I need to notice in myself? And what might indicate that I need to take action? So these are warning signs. And I believe we had someone from AFSP, before I talked, someone from AFSP went over some of those warning signs. So it's recognizing those warning signs within ourselves and actually writing it down. Because when we look at the safety plan later, if we're finding ourselves in distress, we can go back to the plan and say, oh yeah, here's those warning signs that I need to look for. Next, like, what do I already do or know to do? So those are the coping skills that we'll go over in a minute. Who do I need for support? Names and phone numbers. Where can I get support? So locations or places you can go. What resources do I have? And we're going to actually spend a lot of time talking about some resources today for you guys. And then keep it at your fingertips. Do you keep this safety plan with you, or do you keep this self-care plan with you? I mean, I've gone through employee wellness type programs in the past where they've talked about like creating like a self-care plan, and then I write it down on a piece of paper and then I lose it, because the reality is we lose track of things. So making sure that it's constantly accessible to you. So now we're going to go over what an actual safety plan really looks like. Now, this is a pretty generic one. You can go online and find lots of templates, or there's even apps that can help you plan some of this. And again, this is something that we are planning for ourselves. And it's a good idea when we create these safety plans that we even take them back to a behavioral health specialist, a counselor, if we have one, or even a doctor to like review and say, hey, what do you think about this? But it's basically what this is it's a plan in place so that when something comes up and we're finding ourselves mentally overwhelmed, distressed, or even possibly in a mental health crisis or a suicide crisis, where we can go back to this plan and walk ourselves through some self-help techniques until we can go and find resources or even connect with a professional at a later point. So the first step, again, of that safety plan is to identify warning signs. On this plan, you will on a plan like this, you will literally write down what warning signs will look like for you. In the chat, if you guys don't mind, would you guys maybe write down some potential warning signs that we could put on a safety plan? Or even in the Q&A, and then Esri could maybe say some of them out loud. Not seeing anything come in the chat. Are we getting anything in the Q&A? Oh, overly tired. Thank you. What else? Starting to freeze, not knowing what to do next, irritable with the people around you, feeling anxious or worried, pulling away, withdrawing, overthinking, don't want to leave my bed, faster breathing, higher heart rate. Good. So all of these things here that you guys are putting in the chat, all of these are warning signs that you can list here under step 1. A lot of these symptoms you'll start noticing within yourself, and you'll start noticing many of these happening on a regular basis. Write those down so that later when you're starting to notice these things, you can go back and think, I have a plan for this. There's something I can do when I'm feeling this way. Thank you for those comments. I appreciate it. The next step that we have here on the safety plan are my coping strategies. So in the corner here, I don't know how big it is on your guys' screen, but it says, ask yourself, what can you do on your own to help you stay safe? So these coping strategies ideally should be healthy, safe coping strategies that you can do anywhere at any time. So some considerations are us living here in the state of Utah and many other areas around us. We have 4 seasons. So we have spring, winter, summer, and fall. And so when we're thinking about a coping strategy, if one of our coping strategies is going for a bike ride, absolutely put that on your safety plan, but include things that are also not weather dependent. And so maybe that's stand up and take a stretch, or listen to a meditation. Excellent. Call 988. Those are good coping strategies that I'm seeing in the chat. So pick many things that you can do, but be very specific about the things to do. Oh yes, it's really hard to do much in the summer in St. George outside. Oh yes, you guys get into the hundreds. So you need to think of some indoor things to do at that point as well. What I want to caution, swimming is a wonderful option, and there's indoor and outdoor options. I love what's coming in the chat here. Thinking of naming one thing for every letter of the alphabet. I love this because it's a great way to distract your mind by focusing on something else, and you can come up with some really wonderful things. Tai Chi on YouTube, on the computer or TV, breathing techniques. Oh, sorry, that we can't see the comments. I will try and read these out loud to the best that I can. I did want to mention one thing about coping strategies. Every once in a while, people will use unhealthy or unsafe coping strategies like a substance such as alcohol or smoking or vaping or other things. So as you're making these coping strategies for yourself, as you're coming up with your own plan, please make sure that these are coping strategies that are safe and healthy for you. A couple of other things coming in the comments include rainbow grounding. Oops. Look around and name something around you that is the color of the rainbow. So like right now, if I'm looking at yellow, I have some yellow sticky notes on my desk or something like that. Sudoku is a great. Using Headspace for meditation, the 54321 on the Suicide Ambassador State of Utah training. The cold plunge in the bath changes brain chemistry. There's actually a wonderful person who can walk through some of that cold plunge technique. Dr. Ursula Whitehead, I believe is the name. I can provide that as a resource after the call today. But these are all wonderful coping strategies. So write down a couple, make sure you're specific, and I will explain why you need to be specific with these warning signs and coping strategies and the rest of the plan later. So the next thing that's on the list, and some of these are even good distractions as well. So step 3 is figuring out a distraction of people or places that you can go that or talk with that may offer comfort in time of distress. So ask yourself which people or places help take your mind off of your problems, even if it's for a little while. Who helps you feel better when you socialize with them? So an example that I can give for this would be, I have a group of girlfriends that I meet up with on a regular basis, and they are a good distraction for me in the sense that we can talk and do activities and things that really take our mind off of things that are going on. Or a place you could go could possibly be one example, one distraction, and this isn't my only distraction, but one distraction could be like a gym or like a yoga studio or places like that where you can go and do something for an hour or two and just focus on the activity that you're doing. What other distractions or places or people could we go to or put on our list? Any thoughts? I love this. Avoid news and social media feeds for the day. It helps clear the head. I would agree with that. If you're really struggling, unplug from the internet. It's amazing how 24 hours or even longer can help clear your mind. We also have the beach, video games, taking dogs for a walk. I love that. Go to the mountains. Absolutely. Going and being in nature. Religious leaders could be great as well. We actually have some wonderful state partnerships, and we're working on training many religious leaders in suicide prevention techniques as well. So that'll be great. Exercise, reading, crafting, art. Just sitting outside helps me. I love going and just being outside. Change rooms, go somewhere else, go outside and just clear your mind for a little bit and practice some of your coping strategies. The next step that we have on here is my supports. So this is a different in the sense from distractions, where if you are needing to talk to somebody, if you're in crisis and the coping strategies and the distractions, while helping may not also not be working very well, your supports are people who or places that can help you feel comfortable talking about what you're going through and can provide some help. Earlier, someone mentioned the 988 number. They are a wonderful support that you can put in this place right here. So you could write, like, for example, you could write the crisis line and you can write 988. And it seems weird or maybe even simple to put 988 on here, but and I'll talk about this in a second, when people are going through crisis or people are going through mental health challenges, oftentimes I describe it like our brain being on fire. It is really hard when our brain's on fire to think of specific things to do or people to talk to or good coping strategies. So if we write these down, then we can look at this, whether it's on a piece of paper, in an app, a picture on our phone, and say, okay, this is who I need to call. This is a phone number I could call. Some other options could be a therapist if you have one, or a trusted support person. So for example, like I personally could put my mom on this list because my mom could help me walk through my moment of crisis and help me ground me back to earth. I would also put like a therapist on here myself or something else. So if you need help thinking of some supports, really think about in your life who you could reach out to, who you know would help you in a non-biased way. In a workplace setting, sometimes there's even like a supervisor or a peer. Sometimes when organizations have peer support specialists, there's like a peer people could reach out to. Write down those names and phone numbers and be specific. Um, the more specific you can be, the more likely you're going to be able to use this when you're needing it. There are professional supports you can add also. So in addition to people you can talk to, if you have other professionals you'd like to reach out to, include those. This could include your company's EAP, Employee Assistance Program. This could be, again, a therapist or a crisis center or a receiving center that are around the state, someone you can talk to. The last thing that I wanted to mention, and it's often forgotten, is making sure you have a safe environment. If we ever find ourselves in a moment where we're having thoughts of suicide or we're mentally distressed, we want an environment that's safe and not contributing or possibly could put us at risk for attempting suicide. So some ideas that are listed here on the screen are like, do you own a firearm such as a gun or a rifle? Sometimes when we're in distress, it's better for our safety and well-being to maybe lock those up or disable them so that we can't use them, or even sometimes remove them from the home depending on the severity of the situation. Other ideas could possibly be like even removing substances from your home. So like medications, alcohol, or other substances that could possibly limit our ability to think clearly and be able to rationalize what we need to do in these moments. Write down a couple of ideas. Again, be specific. If you're having trouble coming up with some ideas, there's places where you can go and get some more ideas, which I will talk about with now because we're running close on time. But as you guys think of creating a safety plan, the ideal safety plan should be portable. So make sure you have it with you. It should be used and edited often. If something changes, if a person's like no longer available or you change therapists, you can go back and change your safety plan. It should be supported by family and friends, especially if they're on your plan. You should probably tell them. You can build, you can build on past strengths and successes. It should be usable in any situation. Be specific, because when your brain is on fire and when we're going through and we feel overwhelmed, if it's specific, then we can specifically do certain things. And then it should be a tool to draw out hope. To wrap up, I wanted to share some of our statewide resources. First of all, there's the 988 Suicide Crisis and Lifeline. You can call or text. If you are a veteran, yes, I will share the presentation. If you are a veteran, dial 1 and you can speak with peer support specialists who have that military background. And if you have people or you yourself speak Spanish and you feel more comfortable with someone who speaks Spanish, press 2. Otherwise, you can just stay on the line and a specialist will be there to help you. There's the Utah Warm Line with this number right here, the 833-773-2588. We have some wonderful resources for the Trevor Project or the Trans Lifeline for our LGBTQ plus population. We have the Safe UT app if you have kids in school. If you're a first responder or with the National Guard, there's some wonderful help options that way. Specifically for safety planning, there are several apps that could be of a benefit to you. There's the Virtual Hope Box, the Suicide Safety Net, the Not Okay app. There's actually also a wonderful free app that was developed by the Department of Veteran Affairs. You do not have to have ever been involved with military or veteran services or anything to download this app. It is 100% free to anyone who uses it. No in-app purchases, no aftermarket purchases. Anyone can use this, and I highly recommend it. It's a wonderful app. Resources for places to go find things. I will share this presentation, and I'm also going to share a specific resource list as well that can be sent out. Oh, the app is called Safety Plan by the Department of Veteran Affairs, National Center for PTSD. It is a long title. I apologize for that. But this is the actual name of the app here. It's just called Safety Plan by the Department of Veteran Affairs. I will see if I can find a direct link for it after this presentation, and I will email it to GBS to send out to the whole group. If you'd like more information on safety planning, how and means safety, please visit liveonutah.org. There's some wonderful extra resources here. And then you can also go through the playbook, which does go into more detail about how to stay safe and how to keep others safe who are going through mental health struggles and crises. And that's liveonutah.org. And we have 3 minutes left. I want to now open it back up. Esri, do we have any questions in the Q&A section? All right, so let me tell you guys what I'm going to do. After this, I'm going to send Esri an email. It's going to include copies of this presentation. It's going to include our state resource list, and it's also going to include information on where you can find these safety planning apps, and also just a blank safety planning template that you can print and use. So I will send that here in the next 10 minutes, Esri, that you can send out to the rest of the group. And if you guys don't have questions right now, but you would have questions later, my contact information's right here, and I'm happy to answer any questions directly that way as well. Just as we wrap up, does anybody need me to go back to that app on that slide? And because I can go back and share that also. I see a thumbs up, so I might just go back. Oh, nope, forward. This one. This one is the one that's completely free. The other ones that I talked about, sometimes they do charge you some kind of a monthly fee for, but if you want one that's completely free, this one is really great to use. So there is a question that says, if there is a friend who isn't willing to follow these steps for suicide prevention, do you have suggestions to encourage them to do so? So first of all, make sure the friend knows that we're really just looking out for their best interest and wanting to keep them safe. If nothing else, make sure that they have access to resources like the 988 number and other resources that I'll send out as well, and just check in on them on a regular basis and say, hey, if you don't want this right now, okay, but here's like the 988 number, and I'm going to touch base with you tomorrow or in 2 days, or I'm going to touch base with you twice a week to make sure you're doing okay and see if you change your mind. It's really that follow-up piece for people who are hesitant that's really going to make the difference in this case. And the people who are on the crisis line, they are actually trained to make safety plans for people. So that if you give someone the 988 crisis line and this friend contacts them, they very likely could help them make a safety plan that way. And Samantha, yes, this app is for anyone to use. This is a wonderful app. Anyone can use it. I've used it. My boss has used it. And we actually highly recommend this one at most of our trainings because it's free for anyone. I know it's a little funny because it says for veterans, but they've made it free for anyone to use, and they encourage anybody to use it. And I would agree with that, Samantha. Safety plans are really great to make when a person is calm and struggling and not struggling. In moments of crisis, what we really try to focus on is just keeping them safe right now. So sometimes that calling the crisis line and getting someone professional involved to help de-escalate the situation is the better first step. So if nothing else, have people reach out to the 988 number or refer them to one of the other resources that I'll send on the resource list. This is a really good way to be prepared. So if you guys want to make one of these before you're in crisis, like that's going to be the best time to do so, and review it with somebody like a doctor as well. Thank you so much, everybody. I will still, ooh, where'd my mouse go? There it is. I will still be here for a minute if there's any other questions. If you guys don't have any other questions, though, you can be done for the day.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. I will make sure that I get the link to this recording as well as the resources that Alyssa sends me out to all of those who have attended. And yes, thank you again, Alyssa. This has been amazing.
Thanks so much, everyone, and have a good rest of your month. All right, well, Esri, if there's no more questions, I think I'll go ahead and hop off.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Alyssa. That was awesome. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much, and I'll send that email here in just a few minutes with the resources and stuff.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.